All right, let's dive into a really big topic, America's housing crisis. We're going to unpack a major legislative playbook, specifically Title II of a big housing bill that's all about tackling this issue head on. The goal? Simple. Build more homes across the country. So let's see how it's supposed to work. For so many people, the dream of having a safe, affordable place to call home feels like it's slipping away. Prices are just through the roof, and there simply aren't enough homes to go around. And this isn't some abstract economic problem. It's a real, personal challenge for families everywhere. So the big question is, how do you even begin to fix something this massive? Well, the legislation we're looking at today, Title II, doesn't see this as one single problem. It sees it as a really complex challenge that needs a whole bunch of solutions working together. It's not just about building brand new houses. It's also about fixing up what we already have, building smarter, and getting creative. Think of it like this. It's a whole toolbox. Instead of trying to find one single magic bullet, this strategy pulls out a few different tools. We've got one for repairing existing homes, another for speeding up new construction, and a third for finding totally new ways to create homes in old spaces. Let's grab that first tool. Okay, so the first piece of the puzzle is all about fixing the foundation. It's about taking care of the homes that are already here. It's often way cheaper and faster to preserve a home than it is to build a new one from scratch. And that's exactly what this first act focuses on. And that brings us to the Whole Home Repairs Act. It sets up a pilot program designed to get money into the hands of people who need it for critical home repairs. We're talking about things that affect safety, accessibility for seniors or folks with disabilities, and even energy efficiency, which helps lower those monthly utility bills. Now, what's really interesting here is how it works for different people. If you're a lower-income homeowner, you can get a direct grant. But if you're a small landlord, and that means you own fewer than 10 properties, it's a loan that you might not have to pay back. But, and this is a big but, there's a catch for the landlords. To get that loan forgiven, you have to agree to keep the rent affordable and not raise it too much for 3 years. It's a clever way to link public money directly to helping tenants. And we're not just talking about a fresh coat of paint here. This money is for the big stuff. Think about adding a wheelchair ramp for an elderly parent, finally fixing that leaky roof, updating some seriously old wiring, or putting in new windows to cut down on heating costs. These are the kinds of repairs that can literally keep a family safe and secure in their home. Okay, so fixing up what we have is crucial, but we also just flat out need more homes. And that brings us to this second part of this whole strategy, building faster, building smarter. This is all about getting rid of the roadblocks that slow down new construction. And that's where the Build Now Act comes in. This is a pretty classic carrot and stick idea. It basically uses federal community development block grant money to reward towns and cities that are actually getting more housing built, and, well, to penalize the ones that are falling behind. And here's how it works. It's actually pretty straightforward. If your community's housing growth is above the median, boom, you get bonus funding. If you're below the median, your funding gets cut by 10%. The message is pretty clear. Make it easier to build new homes, or you could lose out on federal dollars. Another huge problem is just red tape, specifically the environmental reviews that are required under the National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA. Now, obviously, these reviews are super important for protecting the environment, but let's be honest, they can sometimes add years and a ton of cost to a housing project, sometimes stopping it altogether. So the solution here is a new tiered approach. First, it completely exempts things that have no physical impact, like rental assistance. That just makes sense. Second, it creates a fast track for smaller projects, like renovating a small fourplex. And third, it streamlines the process for those medium-sized projects, including the big one everyone's talking about, turning empty offices into apartments. It's all about making the level of review match the actual impact of the project. Here's another really smart idea to speed things up, something called pattern books. Just imagine your town has a library of pre-approved building designs for things like duplexes or small townhouses. A builder could just pick a design off the shelf, already knowing it meets all the local codes, and get a permit in a tiny fraction of the usual time. And check this out. This isn't just an idea for big cities. The legislation specifically sets aside 10% of the grant money for creating these pattern books for rural communities. Because let's face it, they're dealing with major housing shortages too. All right, on to the really innovative part. What if a big piece of the solution to our housing shortage has been hiding in plain sight this whole time? That's what this third strategy is all about. Finding new homes from old spaces by transforming buildings we're not using anymore into places people can live. This is the Reside Act. It creates a pilot program to help fund the conversion of empty buildings into what's called attainable housing, which basically means homes that are affordable for a mix of low and middle income families. It's a really targeted way to bring new life to areas that have been kind of hollowed out by changes in the economy.
So, what kind of buildings are we talking about? Well, think about that empty warehouse on the edge of town, or that half-abandoned strip mall, or maybe an old hotel that's just sitting there. This act gives communities the financial tools to stop seeing these places as problems and start seeing them as opportunities for brand new housing.
And the goal here is not to build a bunch of luxury lofts. The definition of attainable housing is super specific to make sure these new homes serve regular working families. Most of the units have to be affordable for lower-income folks, but the program also helps people earning up to 120% of the area's median income. Okay, we've covered repairing, accelerating, and innovating. So let's pull it all together and look at the path to affordability, how this entire playbook is really designed to work as a whole. This table really lays it all out, doesn't it? You can see the 4 different strategies, each with its own tool, but they're all pushing toward the exact same goal. It's this really comprehensive approach. You preserve what you have, you incentivize new growth, you make the whole process faster, and you get creative with the space you've already got. And when you put it all together, the logic is pretty clear. The idea is that by increasing the total supply of housing in all these different ways, you start to ease the pressure on the market. That helps improve the quality and safety of our homes and ultimately makes housing more affordable for everybody. This quote really nails the whole spirit of the legislation. It's an admission that there is no one-size-fits-all solution to the housing crisis. What works in a huge city isn't going to work in a small rural town. So this is all about giving local leaders a whole range of tools so they can pick the ones that are right for their community. So the blueprint is on the table. It's ambitious, it's comprehensive, and it attacks the housing crisis from a bunch of different angles. But the real question is, will these tools actually be enough? Once they're in the hands of communities all across the country, will they be powerful enough to really build a more affordable future for America? I guess that's something we'll find out in the years to come.